welcome. Dawes County Board of Commissioners voting session. Today's Thursday, September 5th, 2019. We do appreciate your attendance. Before we get into the roll call, I need a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Fawcett,
Second.
second by Commissioner Nix. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. That's approved 4-0, and we are out of executive session. I'll ask you to sign in the roll call. And as you can see, we're all here. I'd ask everyone to stand for a brief invocation and pledge. If you would bow your head, please. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this another wonderful day and the many blessings of life that you bestowed upon us. We ask that you give us knowledge and wisdom to carry out the business of this great county. Anything that's accomplished, we will give you the honor and glory in Christ's name. We do ask and pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Do we have any announcements? Any announcements?
I think between now and our next meeting, we do have, and the county manager mentioned it, Shore Sweep that's coming up on September 14th. That's a good event for community members to get involved in. It cleans up our shoreline along Lake Lanier. And that's September 14th at 8 o'clock at War Hill.
We do have the fire station groundbreaking is on the 17th, so we invite the public to that as well.
We can, yes, sir.
For our new fire station.
Sure they are.
Any other announcements? We'll move on to the minutes. First up, we have the minutes of the work session held on August 15th, 2019. Any additions or deletions? Motion.
Motion approved.
Motion by Commissioner Satterfield,
Second.
second by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. Next up, we have minutes of the voting session held on August 15th, 2019. Any additions or deletions? Motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Nix,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Fawcett. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. Next up, we have the minutes of the special call meeting held on August 22nd, 2019. Any additions or deletions? Motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fawcett, seconded by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. Next up, we have approval of the agenda. I do have one change to the agenda. Add ACCG 2019 Legislative Leadership Conference voting delegate as number 7 under new business. Do I have a motion with that one change?
Make a motion, we approve the agenda with the mentioned change.
Motion by Commissioner Gaines,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Fawcett. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And the agenda is approved with that one change, 4-0. No one signed up for public comment in this segment. We'll move on to zoning. Now we have ZA 1911 Chestatee LLC request to rezone tax map parcel 104-063 from RSR residential sub-rural to RA residential agriculture. Go over the rules that we will abide by in this zoning process. The planning director will present the application and recommendation of the planning commission. Then we'll hear from the applicant. Then I will open that hearing. We'll hear from those who are in favor of the application. We'll hear from those who are opposed to the application. Each person wishing to speak will be allotted 3 minutes per our zoning guidelines. Anyone who speaks will need to sign in and give us your name and address. And also, if anyone has donated $250 or more to any candidate, you will need to fill out a form stating so, and I have those forms here if anyone fits into that category. Jameson.
Thank you, Chairman. As you said before, ZA 1911, Chestatee LLC is looking to rezone the property from RSR to RA to operate this seasonal corn maze that they've had for the last 17 years at this location. They're looking to rezone 34.76 of the 49.27 acres of this tract. Most of this area is within the, located within the floodplain. It's considered unbuildable at that point. It went before the Planning Commission on August 20th and was voted on 4-0 in approval of this, and recommending the rezoning of this property. Like I said, they're looking to rezone because of their, to come into compliance to continue the special event that is located there. As far as staff recommendations, the only real recommendation that they had was from the Public Works, and said that they would be GDOT. It being on 53 they would want their input, so we reached out to GDOT, and GDOT had said that they would not require any GDOT coordination for the continuation of what they're going to do out there. Questions?
Questions for Jamie? Thanks, sir. We may have some more in a minute. Is the applicant present? Come on up and tell us what you'd like to do, sir.
I hesitate to interrupt the smooth flow of the commission activities here, but I am the owner of the property that is subject to this application, and I appreciate the commission and the planning commission giving us an opportunity and the method to regularize this according to the different interpretations given during the past few months. But more than that, I try to in just 3 minutes to tell you that if you're not aware of the events that have happened here in the last few weeks, we've had a lot of criminal activity lodged against the property, and I think one way to try to minimize future activity is to put sunlight on it, and that's the reason I came here to make that statement. The Gober family are trying to operate Poplar Pass corn maze there. They were subject to at least 3 known acts of vandalism, one of them where they tried to, they did spray a controlled chemical to try to kill most of the corn, but they've been able to plan around that. For me personally, having been born and raised here, it is a very bad memory. When I was a 6-year-old kid in 1943, my mother and father, Hugh and Inez Stowers, just moved to what is now Hugh Stowers Road. We moved into a 900 square foot frame uninsulated house, and the only other buildings were a small smokehouse and a big barn. We were awakened just before Thanksgiving on a clear, cold night when an arsonist set fire to the barn, which was our livelihood. We were able to get a pair of mules out, 2 cows, and a work wagon. The rest of it was learned. Our whole life was destroyed there in front of us by criminal elements. I thought those were gone, but there are evil people in this world, and they're trying to do it again. But the great thing is, out of all that was the good, that the community support was incredible back in 1943. The war was raging in Europe and Asia, and we thought we were in the middle of it, and all of a sudden we had a vanguard of people come up to help and support us. Obviously we got through it with the community's help. Law enforcement was not what it is now, so the perpetrators were never prosecuted, but it is believed they were identified, and it never happened again. And my mother and father had a hard but a good long life at that farm. I hope the Gober family were able to operate here without further injury, but with this last act is so severe that everybody's on guard, and we're hopeful that the community support that we're seeing will continue to support this project and let them run a good local business. We don't want bad elements to give us a reputation of hostile business environment in this county. And I'm thankful for the people in the county to support the project. And I'm open to any questions you have.
Any questions of the applicant? For anybody who might not know who this gentleman is, his name is Mr. Fred Stowers.
Yes.
Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you very much.
All right, so at this point, I will open the hearing. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Anyone here to speak in favor of, in opposition to the application? Seeing none, I'll close that hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Fawcett,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Satterfield. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. That zoning application is approved. Next up, we'll move on to public hearings. First up, we have land use resolution fee schedule update. This is the second of two hearings. The first hearing was held at the Dawson County Planning Commission meeting on August the 20th, 2019. Jameson, you want to give a little background reference to this?
Absolutely. Thank you, Chairman. I'll briefly go through this since I went through this at a work session a few weeks ago. So just to give you an overview, the last updated to the building permit fees were in 2001. So as you can imagine, that was a long time ago. We presented to the board two options to go to. The first one increasing quite a bit, and the second option even more. And what our goal was through this process was to become more in line between the surrounding counties. As you know, that we are 12 cents a square foot on all of our building permits, whether it be commercial or residential. Our surrounding counties have, obviously it's less on residential and more on commercial, but there are significantly more. As you can see, as we go through these slides, the building permits fees are significantly more in all the surrounding counties, including Forsyth County, Hall County, Cherokee County, in which they are almost 60 cents a square foot in some cases. So what we're trying to do is really come in between Lumpkin County and Forsyth County with these two options. And we are also, in this update, going through and updating all of our fees that haven't been touched in the last 20 years, 18 years, to try to offset some of the costs that it takes the planning department to process these applications. I will open it up to any questions.
Any questions for Jameson from the board?
James, on the commercial, when you get, because I was looking at, ours would go from 1,200 something to 4,000, especially on 10,000, anything over 10,000 square foot.
Yes, sir.
And then, because for sites, I was looking, it was like 3,000 something, but they didn't charge anything for planning review. So we'll charge for planning reviews, and so what's the cost for over 10,000 square foot?
So a lot of the costs, especially when comparing, you can't really compare apples to other counties. It's really hard to do that because places like Forsyth County, they not only charge this one-time fee, but they also charge you for each inspection. And this inspection fee actually goes up, especially if you're inspecting a building of over 10,000 square foot. So with that said, you know, it's a lot more than the $3,500 that you actually see. It might actually cost a lot more to what we are proposing.
Other questions for Jameson?
Jameson, you and I talked about this, and I think that we've had some public feedback. I guess first thing I'll say is you came proactively to reach out to the Chamber and the Development Authority, and I know we appreciate you doing that, and they appreciate you doing that to ask for feedback and community feedback. And one of the things that was brought up in one of those meetings was by Tara Hardwick was the special event permit currently is at $100, proposed going to $200, and I believe the feedback is that's a realistic number based on the amount of man hours that you typically put into an average special event permit. That being said, we do see, this board sees quite a few nonprofit special event permits, rabies clinic, prayer, we see multiple things like that. my understanding is an event like that, special use permit or special event permit, would fall into the same type of category as the carnival down at 400. Obviously, there's more man hours and stuff that's put into that, and it's for profit. I would like to see us do something that tries to carve out the ability for a nonprofit that's served in our community to reduce it, and you and I have kind of talked about this briefly, and I believe you have an administrative fee, because there is validity in having some type of charge for that, even though we won't try to reduce it for nonprofits, and then we have to advertise regardless whether it's a nonprofit or a for-profit. I would like to propose to the board, and we look at making the change that we, for any nonprofit, would be just charged the administrative fee and the recording or the advertising fee for whatever's required legally to advertise that. So I'd like to see that change. And my other comment was, we had some legal review and came back late this afternoon, and it wasn't quite marked up on when I looked at it on my computer. Based on that, personally, I'd like to take a little bit more time to digest everything and make sure that we're in line with what legal has requested us to do. It would be my proposal to table it, but we can get that when we get to the.
After the hearing. Any other questions for Jameson? Thank you, sir. All right, so this time, I'll open up that public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak in reference to the land use resolution fee update? Anyone here? Come on up. Give us your name and your address, and please sign in, please.
I am Christy Moore, 55 Pearl Chambers Drive. I'm president of the chamber here. And I want to start by really applauding Jameson and his staff for reaching out to people that it impacts the most to talk through it. I think we deal a lot with other counties, and we were with some people in Forsyth today, and they don't have the relationships with their counties quite the way that we do, and that's something we truly appreciate. And both the Chamber Board and Development Authority really appreciated being asked about it. I think we can all agree that no one likes to pay higher fees, but I'm really not here to speak against that, because we can also all agree that since 2001, quite a few things have changed. We know that everything costs more: health insurance, food, gas, everything. So we do understand that. And one thing I really appreciate about our local businesses is that they're very fair-minded. And while we're not going to, throw a party to pay more fees, we do understand why they are necessary. And looking particularly at the comparison charts that Jameson and staff have provided, we appreciate the majority of the proposed rates and increases are pretty moderate and keep us in line. I know there were a few that we also agreed. Special land use permit was one of them. We did appreciate that the home business licenses and things like that were kept moderate, because those are the people that a big increase would really affect the most. So we do appreciate that y'all are considering that. The main reason I'm really standing before you tonight is to urge you that the majority of the additional revenue that the county would receive if this new fee structure was enacted be put back into planning and zoning. I promise Jameson did not ask me to be here. I'm going to put that caveat. I promise. I don't want to get him in trouble. But the reason why I bring that up is because I know that there's a belief by some that businesses will cut every corner and they don't want to necessarily do what the right thing is. That honestly hasn't been my experience in Dawson County. Are there always some bad apples? Sure. No, we are not perfect. We aren't perfect citizens either. But at the same time, what I think might be surprising to many people is that just like a lot of the citizens I know I've heard from, and I know that you've heard from them, who are concerned about code enforcement, our businesses are concerned about code enforcement. Y'all know Betsy and I have spent a lot of time going to visit with our businesses, both manufacturing, office, etc. And one thing that we hear is, I'm doing my part, I'm following these codes, I put in the right trees, I keep things looking nice, but my neighbor doesn't. And it's upsetting, and I understand that. I mean, we would all understand that we live in a neighborhood and we are like that. And I don't say that as a slight against the planning department at all. I know right now just the code enforcement resources aren't there. And so one thing that we just highly suggest, and I know since this has been being generated by the business community, maybe not the residential part, but I'm speaking to the business part, just making sure that we reinvest both in code enforcement, but also in planning. I think one thing we can all be proud of is that our county has really been forward-thinking in terms of planning, especially like our 400 corridor, for example, when we created, if Dawson County in general created that plan 20 years ago, that's unheard of for a county our size at the time. It really is. It's very forward-thinking. That being said, just like prices have changed in 20 years, so has things like light technology and honestly just general aesthetics, what people prefer and what the DOT is doing now has changed. And so I know that you are already considering the 400 corridor updates and 53 overlay, and I just think sometimes it's surprising. People might think the business community doesn't actually want those things, but really our experience is the opposite. They do want those things, and they want everyone to be held to the same standard, no matter who they are. And so we just really urge that should these be put in place, which we understand the necessity for why, that a good bit of that money is reinvested so that we can really plan for the future. So we put those resources in future land use planning, so we put them in those overlays so that 30 years from now, when they look back at us, they'll say, look how forward thinking they were, just like we are now, looking back at those who were here 20 years ago. So that's all I'm here before you tonight, but thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else here to speak on the land use resolution fee schedule update? Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll close that hearing. The board now has the opportunity to take some form of action if you so desire. Do I have any kind of motions?
I guess, yeah, based on my previous statement, with just wanting to make sure we've got our T's crossed and our I's dotted based on the feedback from legal and not reading through that, having the time today, I'd make a motion to table it till the next voting opportunity, which would be the 19th of September, and to be able to take action.
Motion from Commissioner Gaines to table to September 19th. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fawcett. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And the tabling of that is approved 4-0. That will be brought back up on September 19th. Next public hearing is Fire Prevention Protection Ordinance. This is the first of one hearing. Chief Thompson brought that to the board 3 weeks ago. You want to come up and give us the highlights?
Really just an overview of what we had. As many of you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, recall, we had determined through legal that we actually had an ordinance that needed to come back before you all. Had some basic revisions, but really because of just the technicality and an oversight by a previous board, we somewhat repealed our own ordinance. And so really it's a matter of bringing it forward, getting it back before you guys, and updating our local ordinance. Nothing has changed since the presentation that you all had before you 3 weeks ago. Again, like I said, a lot of moving parts in this, a lot of different players from Public Works, Planning and Zoning, Fire Marshal's Office, Etowah Water, that had to be touched, just to make sure that everything from our ordinance aligned with the residential ordinance, the Public Works side, and also that from Etowah Water. So I'll entertain any questions that you may have.
Questions for Chief Thompson? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, so I'll open up this hearing. Is there anyone here to speak to the Fire Prevention Protection Ordinance? Anyone here? Speak to the Fire Prevention Protection Ordinance. Seeing none, I'll close that hearing. Pleasure of the board.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion by Commissioner Satterfield,
Second.
second by Commissioner Nix. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. We'll move into new business. First up, we have consideration of resolution to adopt Fire and Emergency Services fee schedule. And it's my understanding we put that in a resolution so that we didn't have to keep changing the ordinance every time we changed the fee, or want to take consideration of the fee. Any other information needed? You have a copy of that fee schedule? Motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Nix,
Second.
second by Commissioner Satterfield. Discussion.
I think we did add this exhibit in, I know there was some back and forth a little bit on that, but we did codify it by having, attaching the exhibit.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. Next up, we have consideration to move forward with a public hearing for proposed county vape shop ordinance. Any other information needed? This is a motion to have a public hearing. Any other information needed? Motions.
Motion to move forward with the hearing.
Motion by Commissioner Fawcett,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Satterfield. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. Next up, we have consideration of coroner's office request for a fee adjustment. Ted brought that to us 3 weeks ago. Basically, he has 3 fees. One being the morgue fee, which is $100. He's not requesting that one to change, for it to stay the same. The 2 changes that he's requesting is a pickup fee from $100 to $125, and the crime lab fee from $160 to $200. He does feel like he can do that within his current budget. He's not requesting any additional funds. Are there any additional information needed? Motion.
Motion to approve,
Oh.
second, by the way you stated that.
Motion by Commissioner Nix.
I have that.
Yeah. Motion by Commissioner Nix,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Fawcett. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. Next up, we have consideration of application for parade and assembly. That's the bootlegger triathlon. Jameson presented that 3 weeks ago. This is a race that has gone on for multiple years. I think it starts at Veterans Park and works its way around.
It's been going on for 9 years.
9 years.
9 years, and it starts at Veterans Park, and it goes to a turnaround at Mill Creek, at the Mill Creek Spur in Rock County.
Any other information needed? Motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Satterfield,
Second.
second by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. Next up, we have consideration of special event business license application, Fawcett's Farms. Jameson presented that as well 3 weeks ago. This is a special event application in reference to the sunflowers that are very nicely displayed at Fawcett's Farms and gathers a lot of people to come by and look. The information needed. Motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Satterfield,
Second.
second by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 3-0 with 1 abstention, and Ms. Fawcett abstains because she is the owner of Fawcett's Farm. All right, next up, we have consideration of the 2020 holiday and payroll calendar. Ms. Green presented that to you 3 weeks ago. Is there any other information needed? Motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Nix,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that is approved 4-0. Next up, we have the ACCG 2019 Legislative Leadership Conference voting delegate. I propose to you that Commissioner Satterfield be our voting delegate, because he will be attending this conference, and he has agreed to do so, if that is the desire of this board. Is any other information needed? Motions?
Make a motion, we approve Mr. Satterfield to be the delegate.
Motion by Commissioner Gaines,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Fawcett. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0.
Did you vote for yourself?
Yeah.
Well, that's
Might be
good.
the only one I get.
I don't think they wanted to do it.
No.
I don't think you had any competition there. No one signed up for public comment. I want to thank you for your attendance. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ted.